Hi everyone, it's your host Josh from Recovery Talks 24/7. I hope everyone's keeping well. We have been sponsored by the amazing Money Wellness. They support you in all of your finances in regards to if you have any problems with debt, or if you are needing any sort of financial help, or if you just needed some tips and tricks. Money Wellness is the place to go. They support you in every step of the way. They supported me through my debt problems. I had a hefty amount of debt, and I managed to get in contact with Money Wellness. I picked that phone up, and you know what? They gave me the best ever support that I've ever received before in regards to my financial problems. So if you are struggling, do get in contact with them. They are amazing, and they will support you and help you every step of the way. So today we have an amazing guest with me. His name's Jamie, and he has turned up to share his story of strength and hope. And he has a powerful story, his story of drug addiction. And we're just going to kind of delve in a little bit more, find out about his story, find out about what the issues he went through and how he overcame them. Because there's a lot of people's stories, and we just want to know how they got through their struggles. So Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm good, brother.
Yeah?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good to have
I'm
you.
all
I'm
good. Thank you.
Really happy, really excited to get your story shared. So Jamie, can you just share with me a bit about your background and how you first got introduced to your drug of choice?
Okay. Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's. I know that you're just a couple of weeks away from a significant clean time, and so am I. And to just be able to be sitting here now, experiencing this moment, it's just a beautiful thing. So I'm just grateful to be here, and I'm thankful for the invite. So, yeah, my name's Jamie, and I'm an addict, which it's still quite strange to say out loud, even though I've said it a lot of times, especially the last couple of years. But yeah, I didn't particularly have a bad childhood. I didn't have any traumas. I wasn't physically or sexually abused in any way, but I still found drugs and found drink. I was 18 when I first tried cocaine. I've tried a few other drugs along the way, but it was cocaine that brought me to my knees. Cocaine that took me to a very, very dark place. And it nearly ruined my life, and it ruined a large section of my life. Ruined relationships, ruined friendships, ruined me mentally, physically, financially, spiritually. Pretty much every aspect and every area of my life was in a mess. It was in shambles. And there was a time I didn't know a way out, but I needed to find that way out, otherwise it was just going to be one thing, and that was death, unfortunately. Yeah. So in the beginning, drugs was party time. Yeah, it was going out to clubs, pubs, casinos, strip clubs, all places like that that was just full of seediness, full of good times in the beginning, I'll admit. A lot of good house parties. I was quite a happy person, I'd like to think anyway. And drugs just accentuated that and made it bigger. But it didn't take that long before it wasn't a party drug. It was me taking drugs by myself. It was me going days after the party had ended. I never used to have days off work or anything like that, but because of drugs and drink, I started to have days off. And before, I was having drugs in the week, where it was only a weekend thing in the beginning. I found myself taking it by myself, obscene amounts, spending money that I shouldn't have been spending, getting myself in debt. I wouldn't pay any bills. And I'd like to think I'm a pretty organised person, where if I haven't got a substance in me, yeah, and I can manage things pretty well. But as soon as that started to affect my life, it affected everything. Every last little detail was affected. It took away my likes, my loves, my hobbies, my interests, my confidence, my self-worth. It just stripped me of my character, my personalisation on this earth. It just took it. And there was a time when I didn't think I would ever be back. You know, I thought I'd either die an addict or I'd ruined everything to the point of no return. You know, I didn't think there was any way back. I tried many things along the way, and none of them worked until a couple of years ago, which we'll get to. But yeah.
No, so you've kind of, so what you've done is you've shared from the beginning there where you did have some good times. You enjoyed it. You know, you didn't really see the consequences of what's going to happen from progressively drinking, progressively taking drugs. Obviously, your choice of drug was cocaine, and that's becoming quite a common thing now for a lot of people that are out there that are struggling with that stuff, and they don't realise how much of an effect it's going to have on their life. And this is why we've got you here today. So you've really described now, you know, the pit of despair. You're like, it's completely stripped you away of everything, and you're still trying to fill that void by taking something that's just not doing its job anymore for you. So what I want to know, and what the listeners want to know, is how did this addiction affect and have an impact on your relationships with your family? You know, if you have children, what impact did that have?
Yeah, massive impact. You don't realise the impact that it has on your loved ones, because firstly you think, well, they're not going through it, I am, so they don't need to worry. You know, it's me that's going through it, so I'll be okay. But obviously they saw everything, and put them through just as much mental torture and hell as I put myself through. And I see that now. But when you're in the madness, as us addicts call it, you don't see anything else other than the drug itself, or the drink, or wherever it is. That's all your focus is on, and you can't think of anything else. So I missed out on a lot of family gatherings. I missed out on a lot of family time. You know, I mean, I've got quite a real close family, and I ruined that by doing what I did. But I couldn't see that. I was just so wrapped up in the tornado of addiction that it just took me on this journey for about 20 years, and then just spat me out at the end of it. And then it leaves, like a tornado does, it leaves carnage, it leaves destruction, and I'm just stood there then with everything around me that's fell to bits, trying to figure out a way to put it all back together. And yeah, you touched upon it there, it was fun in the beginning. It's fun for probably everyone that takes drugs in the beginning, for however long it lasts as fun. But fortunately that doesn't last, and before you know it, you're in a world of pain and a world of hurt. But yeah, it's affected, I've got a son, it affected him. It affected the relationship I had with his mum. It affected every job that I'd ever had. It just missed out on seeing people grow up, missed out on the good things that you're supposed to experience as a family. I missed out on a lot of that. I had a lot of that before the drugs, but then missed out on it.
So you know, we're now reflecting on obviously the effect and an impact it's having on other people, and you know, there is somebody listening out there right now that will probably not realise the impact of their addiction, of what is going on around people, and I think a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that as addicts, you know, the people we harm, and the people we harm are the ones that are closest to us, and that's obviously mums, children, you know, brothers, sisters, fathers. And you know, for you being able to just open up then and just actually contemplate and realize that, hold on a minute, this is who I affected, and you've been able to acknowledge that now, and that will definitely be an encouragement to someone at home, is that we need to just come to realization that we're not just hurting ourselves, we're not hurting other people around us. So what was one of the lowest points for when you faced during your addiction?
So there's a lot. I had one family member say that she was mentally preparing for my death. So that was quite hard to hear. Even though I was intoxicated, I never forgot her saying that. So that was a very low moment. I'd put her through so much that she was at that point where that she was thinking those things. You know, my grandmother on her knees, crying, begging, pleading with me to get help or to get better. I haven't shared this before, but I missed my son's first day at school, because of my addiction. So that will haunt me for forever, because I should have been there and I wasn't. So I think what I do want to touch upon actually is, if there are family members out there, I just want to say that are listening, I just want to say to them that no matter how bad it gets, that's not your son or daughter or dad or mum or whoever it is, that's not them doing these things. It's the addiction, it's the drug, it's the drink. And one day you'll get that person back and you'll realise that they're not gone and they're not lost. Because I think it's important to focus on we put ourselves through this and we're in the addiction, but it is important to mention the family members, because they're in it just as much as we are, and they have to put up with so much, and they're helpless. You know, I see that now. They was absolutely helpless as to what to do, because at the end of the day, they can't do anything. It's the person that's going through it that needs to want to stop. And also, any family member that's listening, never blame yourself for the actions of the person that's under the influence. It's not your fault. I just thought it was important to mention that.
No, that's powerful.
But yeah, those few incidents I just mentioned were very, very, very low points. And it's weird because the thing that makes you feel the way that you're feeling, the drugs mask the way you're feeling from using the drugs, so you continue to use it. It's mad. It's like you're in like a constant circle, a constant cycle. That the thing that's going to make me forget that I'm an addict is the drug that has made me an addict. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. So you're just stuck in that cycle all the time. You know, I hated the person that I was looking at in the mirror. Guilt and shame. You know, I hated the person I'd become, and that was because of the things I was doing. But I continued to do them because it made me forget of that person. And also, it's hard to, how do you explain to a family member you're using because you want to use, because you want to forget the way that you feel about the person that you are? How do you, because you always make up these excuses about, oh, it's my job, it's my relationship, I'm depressed, I've got anxiety and all this, which I feel most of the time is rubbish, because all you want to do is keep using the drug. But how do you tell a family member that I'm using it just because I want to use? You know, how do you say that? How do you look them in the eye and say that? So you have to come up with all these lies and excuses, and you get wrapped up in your own shit, to the point where you just lose track of it all. Because they can't understand why you're doing it, and you're trying to explain in the best way you can to not hurt their feelings, when really all you want to say is, I hate the person I've become, I hate looking in the mirror, and I want to mask these feelings, and the only thing that can mask them is the drug.
Powerful. Not even, you know, I haven't even looked at it in that way before, but it's an amazing way how you've just put that together, is trying to explain it to your parents, because dear God, the amount of times that I've said to my mum, you know, using because someone's annoyed me, or you know, like one of the main things, I lost my job, I can't cope. It's like, no, I'm using because I just don't want to face me. And that's the hardest thing, isn't it, with trying to come to face yourself, face what's going on with Jamie, you know, face what's going on with Josh. And whoever's listening at home will definitely have taken that on board of what you've just explained as well. So, you know, you've shared your lowest moments, and I really appreciate you touching on.
I can share one. Sorry to disturb. I can share one more quick story.
Yeah.
About a lowest point, which I think it's important to share.
Yeah.
I haven't shared this many times in my life, but I had a really good job, and you know, I had a decent amount of money coming in, and I bought my own flat when I was very young. So all this flat was kitted out with, you know, all the latest stuff, all the latest clothes, the latest technology, whatever it was, new car on the drive, etc. You know, living the dream.
Yeah.
And to the outside world, you know, I had it all, and I was happy, and my life was in control. But people don't know that the addiction took me to the place where I was in that flat by myself, crying on the kitchen floor, with no food or anything in the cupboards because I didn't buy any. I spent all the money I had. I felt instant guilt and shame and everything, and I'm in that kitchen on that floor, crying my eyes out, with a despair, complete despair, depression. Don't know what to do with myself. Don't know fully understand why I've just done what I did. But to the outside world, I've got everything. But I just wanted to quickly explain that, because that's the power of addiction. That even though, because this was years ago, right? Even though I was sitting there with that much pain, that much suffering, crying, you know, physically can't even stand up because I've just destroyed myself with the drugs, I never stopped using. You know, I used the next day. You know, that's when you say it out loud, it's complete insanity and complete madness.
Yeah.
But that was also a very low point. You know, it's very vivid in my mind that it happened. But I just wanted to explain how strong addiction is, and how we can't stop.
Yeah. So we've gone on from, you know, because I like to look at this as a story, you know, because everyone's got a powerful story, and your stories began with, you've gone out, gone for a couple of drinks, having a bit of fun, doing a bit of coke, not kind of realizing the consequences for it, not, you know, how can you, do you know what I mean? But you're just thinking it's all a little bit of fun, everyone else is doing it, I'm going to do it as well, all of that stuff. And you've painted us a picture of how the destruction started to happen, how everything came crashing down. You had all them lowest moments and challenging times in your addiction. So let's look at now, you've had a specific turning point now. There must have come a point where you've gone, do you know what, Jamie, what you doing? I need to get help. I can't do this anymore. So can you share with us, when was that turning point for you?
So, nearly 2 years ago, I'd burnt every bridge, upset every family member. I wasn't seeing my son at that particular moment. And I thought, I've got to do something. I tried many things before. I tried one-on-one therapy sessions. I tried acupuncture. I tried hypnotherapy. There was many things that I tried. And I tried to do it by myself, which is a massive one. Thinking, nah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right this time. Definitely 100%. And you know yourself, it's not that long before you find yourself back saying those same things over and over again. But it just got to the point where I'd had enough.
Yeah.
I'd had enough, and I needed someone or something to pull me out and help me, because I just couldn't do it by myself. Didn't want to ask my family for help anymore, because I just ruined the relationships I had with them. So people kept mentioning like a rehab type environment. So I was just on Google, one day, and I was just searching for some, and I rang this particular rehab, and the lady on the phone said it would be 30 grand or something like that for a month. And I said, okay, that's fine. So where do you want me to get 30 grand from? You know, I'd spent every last bit of money I had. Family had given me money over the years. And I just put the phone down because I thought, oh, how am I even going to pay for that? But I found a link to a website that was for New Hope rehabilitation.
Yeah.
So I filled in my details on there. And somebody got back to me with a text. Now, the last relapse that I had, I received a text from somebody that owns the company. And it was a few days before I actually rang the number back, because the message said, contact this number if you still need our help and assistance, something like that. And something made me keep the text. And it was the week before that I'd received that text. So basically, I used that weekend. It got to Monday morning, and I was, again, in a world of pain and suffering. And so I reached out to this number, and there was a guy on the other end, Gary Spriggs.
Yep.
And he spoke to me, and he gave me one of his, tough talks that he does.
Yeah.
And he didn't mention the relapse. He didn't mention anything that happened in the past. He didn't want me to explain what had happened. He just said, do you need help? And what are you willing to do to get clean? So there was a bit of a process with a referral. So there was a few days in between me actually going from Birmingham to New Hope. So I continued the contact every day for 5 days, and he was like the voice that I needed, because there was no, as I say, we didn't talk about anything that happened previous. We was just talking about what we're going to do moving forward, and he was the only person that I spoke to for those 5 days in a row. The only person. So he was my voice of reason. He was my voice of hope, my voice of calm, and yeah, we got into a supported living accommodation by the Friday. And when I first got there, it was a new city, didn't know anyone, and I was assigned a key worker, and that key worker said to me, right, to stay clean, because he was in addiction himself years previous, and he said to me, get to a recovery meeting every night, share at every meeting, connect with other addicts, and you'll be all right. And I was like, wow, okay, so is that what I'm going to do? So he left, and I sat in the bedroom, and even for a split second, I thought to myself, I could probably blag these. I could probably get away with it. I'll be all right. But it was like a split second thought, and I thought, what are you doing? You're away from your family, away from your loved ones. You're somewhere you don't know anybody. I was scared. I was thinking I was going to mess it up. I was thinking everything's going to go wrong. But then I remembered what he said. You do these things and you'll be all right. Yeah. And that stuck with me. So that thought that I had about using went away within a couple of seconds. I thought, no, I'm going to knuckle down. I'm going to do what he's just suggested. And I'm not going to promise anybody anything. I'm not going to say I'm never going to do it again and all of that nonsense. I'm just going to prove it by my actions. So from that day then, I went to recovery-based meeting on the evening on that same day. Still in a little bit of a haze because I'd used the night before. And there was some clean time celebration key rings on the table, and I seen people getting them. And I was like, I want some of that. I want to be proud about how clean I am. And I actually said in my first share on that Friday, my first ever meeting, I said, I want every single one of those key rings. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And probably other people in the room thought, oh, we've heard that before and blah, blah. But I did the necessary thing. I did a meeting every day. I worked on my fitness, I worked on my health, I was eating better, I was speaking to people, I was sharing. And and I'm a couple of weeks away from getting that last key ring that was on that table. And the difference in my life now from 2 years ago is just mind blowing. You know, it's so different. I can't just to be sitting here now as part of that process is just amazing. And I'm actually blessed to be in a position where I work for the company that I came to for help, where I'm now helping others, which again is mind blowing. And it's the first time I've had a job where, I've had one job before that I really loved, and my addiction took that. But every job after that, it was just, I didn't like it. I knew I could do better. Every job since that first job, I knew deep down I could do better. But the addiction didn't allow me to bring those feelings to the surface. They was just buried, because it took my self-worth and it took my confidence and everything else. So every job I had, I just went along with it, even though I knew I could do better. So then I just, what was I going to say? So the job that I've got now is, I love it, you know, because I'm just in the position where I see people's journeys, yourself, one of them, to see other people grow in this recovery is just amazing to me. And seeing other people grow allows me to grow. You know, and people help me just as much as I help others. And some of the people I've met, New Hope, Nathaniel, Bell, Mark, people like that are just, I couldn't do this without them. And the things I've learnt from them, the knowledge I've gained is just unbelievable. And to go from getting drugs pushed through letterboxes because I'm too paranoid to go outside, to be sitting here sharing my story, to hopefully help others, and to also help others on a daily basis is what I was put here for. I believe that now. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. I did. There's a lot of regret, a lot of guilt, and a lot of shame. But I've got to just put that behind me and realise that I went through that to be sitting here now. And I'm just going to continue to grow on that thought and that feeling, those feelings, and we'll see what happens from here.
That's amazing, Jamie. And so obviously going back to, the support that you had, support is such a big thing, and it's an important thing to have, isn't it? Support. And obviously you was at your wit's end of it all, and you didn't want to live your life like the way you was living. So you got the right support, you got the right help, and obviously I'll name the company, and it is New Hope, New Hope Rehabilitation, and they're absolutely brilliant. And if anyone's listening, and if anyone's struggling with any form of addiction and they just want some support, or any sort of supported accommodation and need some support that way, then New Hope is definitely a great organisation to get involved with. Jamie is a walking testimony through the support he had from them. Also myself as a walking testimony with getting the support and the help that I've had from them. So you obviously have been involved in a 12-step program. So obviously a lot of people that are listening, 12-step, you are able to research that out yourself. There's lots of different avenues for people to go down. Sometimes 12 steps don't work for everybody, and there is other different avenues and ways that people do and get clean. We know somebody that does meditation and does yoga. He's clean as a whistle today, and he's doing amazing in his recovery. So in your journey now, you're working for New Hope, you're being a support worker to people like myself and others, and you're helping them get to where they need to be. What's happened now since, how's your life changed since now, about your son? Have you got contact back with your son again?
Yeah, I never really lost it to that level, but there was a small period of time where there was no contact at all, and that was through my own doing. But I don't see him as much as I'd like to, but we're working on that, and I'm trying my best to move forward in that area. But if I'd continued the way I was going, I would be nowhere near this situation at the moment. So my life now, it's just worlds apart. I can't even explain in words the difference where my life is now compared to 2 years ago, man. And that's because that's because I haven't picked up. That's the number one thing. I haven't picked up drugs. You know, everything else I just work on it on a daily basis. But the number one thing I don't do every day is not pick up. Because as soon as I pick up, it's destruction again. It's pain, it's suffering, it's all the rest of it. So, but I don't want to do that today. You know, I'd let a lot of people down, and I'd lose job, I'd lose respect, I'd lose contact with family members, except all that. I'd lose financial, you know, everything. But the number one person I'd let down is myself. You know, I've worked too hard to get to this point now. I can't ever go back. Can't ever go back to that. It was too much pain. It was harrowing, man.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been there, yourself included, that you know it's just not an option. It's just not an option.
Definitely
and just going back to what you just said about people do different things within their recovery, and I just think the 12-step program might not be for everyone, but it's for everyone who wants it. Yeah. And that goes for any sort of aspect of recovery. You've got to be doing something. You know, I've done a 12-step. I'm in a 12-step program, and I continue to work on that. I continue to learn about it, continue to grow from it. But there's many other areas that people can work on. But my point is, you've got to be doing something. You can't just sit at home doing nothing, expecting your addiction to go away, because it's not going to. You need help. You need guidance. You need people around you. Yeah. And yeah, it was the 12-step program and the meetings that are involved in that, and you know, the sponsorship, things like that are connected to that. But it's also connection with other recovering addicts that has been a massive help to me. Just having people around you can share some of your darkest, deepest stuff and not get judged, not get laughed at, because guys have been through it themselves, so they understand you, they know what you're saying. Some of the things that I've told people like yourself, people like the cameraman, you know, and there's a few back in Nottingham that I speak to. You can never say those things to your family members, because they'll either wouldn't understand it, or you just don't feel comfortable in saying it. You know, there'd be a complete silence in the room if you come out with some of the things that we did in addiction. But to be able to share that with somebody who understands it is massive. It's massive for me, and it's been a massive help in my recovery. To have those people around me is a massive blessing.
Definitely. And I think it's important, you know, there is so many like-minded people, hence why I'm so grateful that you've come on today to share your story, you know, because there's going to be a lot of people that go, I'm going to really relate to that. And also, you know, you've pointed them in the right direction of where they can get support. You know, there is a lot of support out there. It's really difficult to find. And it's great that you're able to come on today and just share, you know, a bit of your strength and hope and how you got through your addiction and what you did to get out of that pit, you know, to get out of that darkness. So what advice would you give to someone now that's listening to this podcast, that's sitting at home and they are in the pit, they are in despair, or it might be even a parent that may be listening and they need to hear some form of advice so they can help their son or their daughter or even their husband?
Never give up is number one. You just cannot, no matter how many times you fall, no matter how many times you relapse, no matter how many times you're witnessing somebody go through a relapse, never give up. You know, there's all sorts of help out there. You just need to find that right type of help for that particular person. But there is help out there. That person has to want it. And if they want it, they will get it. And they will get clean, and they will live happy, and they'll build relationships again, and they'll be all right. I believe that anybody can turn it around. I've seen it. I've seen people in, you know, my situation was bad. It got really, really bad. But there's people that are so much more worse than what I went through. And they turned it around. So, did I answer your question? Yes. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Never give up.
And you couldn't put it any better than what you said, don't give up, you know. And anyone that's listening at home today, you know, if you've related with Jamie, or if you're sitting there and you're thinking, do you know what, I might have a problem, but I don't know how to speak about it, then do get yourself somewhere where you can communicate with somebody. One that, you know, we call them our trusted people. You know, I had one trusted person and I was able to share with them and they pointed me in the right direction. And I definitely agree, and I'm sure you will as well, Jamie. You know, for men, I always strongly believe it's a hard thing is to communicate, is to talk. You know, we like to hold it in. We don't want to let no one know that we're struggling, but it's okay. It's okay if you're struggling. You know, we go through these periods of times in our life where we mess up, but we get ourselves back up, we brush ourselves off, so we keep going. And I think that's so important, you know, just to keep going, and it will get easier. We're all on a journey. You're not alone. And yeah, but Jamie, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you giving up your time. Thank you for sharing your story. And I really do believe that somebody may be listening today that's going to go, do you know what, I relate with his story today.
I hope so, yeah.
And, you know, even if we just reach that one person.
That's all that matters. One person to get it.
Yeah, that's it. So Jamie, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Josh. Thank you very much.
Nice one. Thank you.
Go on, bro.
Cheers.